Bismillahirrahmanirrahim ji. Assalamu alaikum. This is Saad Chhotani from Hit Marcher Training Company. I hope you're all doing really good. And as promised, today I'm here with the stress to success model, which I promised that I'll brief. And today I'm briefing that model and to give you some brief outlines of what this model actually is before getting into the actual description of what each stage has to say and how you can use that model. I'd like to tell you that this model was developed initially for our stress management program, and some part of this stress to success model also reflects our work-life balance, because obviously work-life balance also has to do with your personal happiness, your self-awareness, your contentment in life, and your achievements. And overall, this model actually was developed to reflect a few objectives, which is first of all, this gives you enhanced self-awareness. It also improves your productivity while you follow through the stages of these model, and this model also enhances your overall well-being and happiness in life. So this comprehensive and a very self-explanatory model can be used by professionals to further train people, and it can also be used by individuals to self-help manage their daily stresses or prolonged stresses. So it's a very comprehensive and an easy model that anyone can follow and understand at the same time. Now, getting to the model itself, starting off with the first stage, as you can see over here. The first stage basically is about the diagnosis. So in the diagnosis stage, what you have to do is you have to understand yourself, and you have to understand the symptoms of stress that's been generally observed by oneself, being stressed, and the sources of the stress, whatever it is, comes into the diagnosis stage, where you have to conduct a personal analysis. We conduct a very comprehensive analysis which includes your qualitative analysis and the quantitative analysis. Qualitative analysis, if I talk about that, is the happiness, is the well-being in life, like how much you're happy with your current status, with your state of mind, and whether you are working, how much you're happy with your job, or how much you're happy with your business, and whatever it is, your current state of life, how much it is fulfilling yourself, or how much happiness it is giving you, comes into the personal analysis. Further, it's been subdivided or categorized into 3 different stages, where you can analyze. If you're a professional, you have to understand whether your professional life is making you happy, or that's making you stressed, or it's putting you under pressure. Whatever it is, stress could also be contributed by your social or family life. Sometimes if you talk about relationships, sometimes relationships gets very complicated, and it becomes a source of stress for some people. It could also be transitions. Now, transition here means that sometimes we immediately get from one stage to another stage, and that transition is very difficult for some people to actually digest and to smoothly transfer from one stage to another. Let's take an example of a very disastrous situation. For instance, one of your relative was died in a car accident, or one of your close friend was injured by a car accident or something like that. That thing is a very difficult thing to understand and to accept. It takes really difficult time to understand these kind of situations in life. So that comes into the transition, moving from one job to another job, promoting from one position to another position, or shifting from one place to another place, where you were living in a different country and now you're living in a different country. To make yourself comfortable, it takes some time, so that could be stressful as well. Now, once you identify what is the major source of your daily stress, or the prolonged stress, you'd be able to identify and understand what are the stresses. So for instance, if your stressor is coming from your professional life, it could be something as in, for example, if that's your boss which is not really giving you enough opportunities, or that's putting a lot of load, or the language that he's using is really bothering you. So that could be stressor number one. And then you basically have to compile and you have to list down all the stresses in life in order to understand how you can actually manage those stresses and how you can understand those stresses well in life. Now, once you've listed down each one of the stress, whether that is from the professional life, whether that is your family life, whether that is your transition in life, whatever it is, just list down all the stresses. And once you've done that, you have to grade all these stresses with certain percentages. So for instance, if most of the stress is coming from professional life, you have to list down whatever the stresses are, whether that's the work, whether that's the boss, whether that's something else. Could be working conditions, could be working hours, could be anything. Whatever it is, just give them the percentages and assign them the weightages. Then move on to the social and family category, where you can understand how much stress is coming from your house, from your spouses, from your kids, from your parents, whatever it is. Just list down all of them as well, and understand what is your current state of mind, what is your current status. So for instance, if you have just being promoted to a different job, or if you've just finished your education, your college education, and you're starting university or a graduation degree, you could write down the transition as well. So once you've listed down all the stresses, the weightages, and what stressor is contributing most of the stress, you are ready for the second stage, which is about the biggest question which you should ask yourself, and that is my stressor a threat? Now with that, what I mean is, you have to understand whether all of these stresses, whatever it is, all these pressures and stresses that you have listed down, are these a threat to yourself, or this is an opportunity? Now you might know about the SWOT analysis that we do mostly, and that is about opportunities and threats. So opportunity could be something that makes you better at things, that improves your productivity. Threat could be an opposite of opportunity, that could reduce your productivity, that could be dangerous for your health, that could be dangerous for your mental state of mind, and things like that. So once you answer this question, whether if it is yes, you can move down to the test number 2. If your stress is not a threat, then you can directly go towards the success. I'll further talk about that in a bit. Now if your stress or a stressor is a threat for you, and you think that is making you worse at situations, and you are not able to control or manage those stresses in life, you can ask yourself the first question in test 2, that is it your perception of inability to cope with the threat or the stress, or that is the perception of ability to cope? Now what I mean by saying that is that we perceive things in a different way, and we being humans and individuals perceived different stresses in a different way. We handle stresses in a different way, we handle situations all in a different way, and for that, what's really influencing our behavior could be termed as our biopsychosocial factors. Now what is biopsychosocial factor? Let me give you an example. For instance, the family brought up that we've been brought up into is different, and the family brought up that our friends have been brought up could be different as well. So we, being individuals, although we look the same way, we have almost the same resources, but still we perceive things in a different way. That is from our own mental paradigm. So if for instance you're going for a roller coaster ride, for some people that's a very thrilling activity, but for some people, if they haven't been on a roller coaster, or they had a very bad experience previously with the roller coaster, for them they could perceive that as a very stressful activity, and that event, that entire time, them being on a roller coaster could be a very wrong decision for themselves, because that will be a threat for their mental and a physical health. So you have to ask yourself whether that is your perception of inability to cope with the threat, or you think that you can actually cope with the threat. Now if you think that you can cope with the stress or stressors that you are currently facing, and you think that there is a stress but you can actually deal with that, you can manage those stresses, you can go towards the positive stress. It leads you towards the positive stress because you think that you have the ability and capacity to manage those stresses, but it's just making you a little vulnerable, or it's just making you a little putting you in a different situation which is difficult to handle, but it's almost manageable. Your stress basically is positive, and it's going to make you stronger while you keep doing that task again and again. Now in that case, if you have a positive stress, you can go towards the alpha relaxation techniques, which I'll talk about in a bit. Now if your stress, you think that is not being able to be managed or coped, your stress could be a negative stress which is mentally disturbing you, which is physically disturbing you, and that could be a chronic stress which is not good for your health. Now in that case, you have to apply and you have to use certain stress management intervention that we use in our stress management training. We can further discuss the stress management intervention in our next video. I just want to specifically talk about this model, because each part of this model has so many of its explanation. But I'd like to add here, for parents especially, where we talk about biopsychosocial factors. Now we talk about kids. Now how kids actually behave to different challenges and difficult situations in their lives. Now there's a kid which likes to take challenges, which is very creative, which is very outgoing, extrovert personality, is very confident into things. Now in that, the role of parents actually plays a very important role. Now here, as parents, we have to understand that our kids should be given enough ample opportunities, and they should be exposed to ample challenges in life, so that they take the challenge positively and they start getting better at it. So in future, when they deal with the big stresses, with big pressures, they're already prepared for all these kind of stress and pressures. So we can make ourselves and our kids better at stress and pressures in life from an initial stage, by just exposing them and getting them involved into challenges and difficult situations, and allowing them to take risks in life and things like that. So if you think you're dealing with the negative stress which is making you bad, you can further go into the stress management interventions, which we'll further discuss in the next video. If you think you can cope with the stress that you're feeling and your stresses are all manageable, you may have the positive stress which is manageable. All you have to do is you can use our created alpha relaxation technique, which has been created by us for our stress management training and also the work-life balance training that we do. It's a 3-day program that we do, sometime open house trainings as well as in-house training. We'll soon be announcing our public program about stress management, which is a 3-day training. So it's a very comprehensive training. It's going to give you all the techniques, all the tools that you can use professionally or socially, to make yourself better at life and have a very positive aspect of living. Now once you follow all these techniques, you can further move down to the success part, which is the final part, where we discuss the leadership part of, once we conquer ourselves, once we conquer our brains, we are ready to take the risk, we are ready to improve ourselves, to sharpen our saws, and to learn new things and new skills in life, which is eventually going to make us a successful human being. Now guys, that was it, and that was the three part of our stress to success model, which was done by myself. And if you have any questions about this model, we'd be proud to give you any answers about this model. And this model can be used by professionals, can be used by individuals if they wanna get better at stress. Now for this video, this is about it. In the next video, I'll try to talk about each part of this model in a very explanatory way, in a very brief way. Until next video, this is about it. See you then. Allah Hafiz.